walks are good, but I'm a fucking hitter, dude. Like, I want to hit, and like it's annoying when you are in the box and you know like your ability is hitting. Like that's the thing I'm best at in this game. So
You robbed your share of home runs. What did it feel to have someone go ahead and rob you of one?
It's part of the game. There's this saying in Spanish, "El que hierro mata, hierro muere." It's like I don't know how to really translate it in English, but it's part of the game. And man, they play good defense, and that's what happens.
I know you made a case earlier for all four of your bullpen arms to be.
Are you gonna ask me about the four horsemen?
I am.
Okay. On display tonight. I still can't name them, but they're Estrada, Morihone, Adam, and Suarez.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Cassavell. Here on a Wednesday, we are brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players' Place. Listen, the Padres and the rest of Major League Baseball may be on a break, but guess who's not? AJ Cassavell. He's here right now to do his
That's not
favorite
true.
thing. Really?
I'm in a break.
Really?
I'm. This is full break mode, AJ, right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. I watched the All-Star game only tangentially last night. Had it up.
Yeah.
Was in the hammock reading a book. Had the All-Star game on over there, and was very much not paying attention to it. So until the swing off, which was actually pretty cool, I thought.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you about that shortly. Okay, so all right. By the way, I will confess I did not watch the home run derby at all because I had no interest in it. Like if you had some bigger names in it, I'll get into it. I know Kyrelli is he's a great story, the Mariners catcher, but I just wasn't into the home run derby because of the field of the hitters. So you give me Ohtani, you give me Schwarber, you give me Aaron Judge, Manny, Tatis, Soto. I know James Wood was in there, and what's another conversation we'll get to, but I wasn't into it. But I did watch the All-Star game, spare bits and pieces, and the ending was a lot of fun. Okay, Padres are right now, they are 52-44, getting ready to go on this road trip, Washington, Miami, and then, of course, a very important series with Mike Shilt's former team, the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, AJ Cassavell, I would like you to go ahead and sum up the first half in less time than Mike Schilt did it in his final presser, and more precisely than AJ Preller did when he was asked about it on his most recent Zoom. Go.
I would just like it's pretty easy to sum up. It was up and down with a strong start and a decently strong finish to set them up for them to be able to accomplish what they need to in the second half. That's the whole description of it. That's what it was. I think like last season, like we're not going to define, like most seasons, like pretty much every season, you're not going to define the Padres by what happened in the first 100 games of the season. You're going to define them by what happens down the stretch and by what happens in the postseason. And so that's where we are right now. They had a solid first half. They dealt with adversity. Every team dealt with adversity. I don't know particularly the Padres specific adversity was like where it fits on the adversity scale. It seemed pretty standard to me. A couple arms injured, both of whom you expect to have back. And a couple guys also offensively injured for a stretch where other guys had to step up and where the offense wasn't great. They're in a position to accomplish what they need to in the second half. The schedule is a lot easier in the second half than it was in the first. I think I think they're a team that has flaws. They're a team that needs to address some things ahead of the trade deadline, but I also think they're a serious contender in the National League based on what we saw.
Okay, now I know you were on AJ Preller's Zoom with him and Chris Kemp when he addressed the Padres the draft, and he was asked about, I think it was by you about how he would sum up the first half, and of course ensuing about how aggressive he'll be at the trade deadline. And I thought he made an interesting comment saying that it would come from within. What is he talking about? Is he talking about more, listen, we're going to get Michael King back. We think we're getting him back relatively soon. We know he's coming back. At least he's not going to be out for the entire season. Was he talking about seeing a better version of Jackson Merrill, a better version of Tatis? What was AJ Preller talking about?
I think he was talking about all of those things, but like go back. I think I asked that question every year at this time because the draft, like I've some version of the same question. The draft is when we get access to AJ Preller.
Right.
And as soon as the draft questions are done being asked, like needs to be asked about the upcoming trade deadline. So every single year I asked about his approach. And I think every year, even like when they went out and traded for Juan Soto and Josh Hader, even when they traded for 26 guys in 2020, or maybe 26 guys moved in 6 different trades. Like he always says, yeah, we can get the answers within because it's just kind of in his nature to like not lie. I mean, like I think that's where they are now. And if there aren't any deals that can be had, like you have to be confident in what you had. There are always deals to be had though with AJ Preller. He'll find them.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's maybe posturing is what I would call it, because look, Gavin Sheets has been solid in left field, and as a result of that, like now you kind of have some leverage in trade talks. You don't like everyone in the sport knows the Padres need a left fielder desperately. Maybe now they don't need a left fielder. Maybe now they need a DH. And I still think they would be way better served to get a left fielder, but you have to tout your internal options in order to not be so desperate and have some leverage on the trade market, because they do need guys on the trade market. And I would be stunned if they didn't add 2 hitters in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And so I just think it's AJ Preller. Like I could go back. I think I have all these press conferences saved somewhere in my recordings or in my notes, and I could find something that he says about how much he likes his internal options at every single one of them. And he goes out and acquires, and some years he doesn't stand pat, but stands more pat than other years.
Mm-hmm.
And some years he goes out and says that and trades for Juan Soto and Josh Hader. So what do I read into it? Honestly, nothing. I don't take any. I don't believe anything he says when he talks about what he's going to do at the trade deadline, because frankly, like, why would he tell us?
He's not going to say, listen, have you seen our catchers? We've got to get a catcher. Have you seen our DH? We can't keep rolling out, Threaten
and
Brooks.
These are the guys we
that.
really, really want.
Here's in order of priority. This is what we're looking for. But you're exactly right. Everyone in Major League Baseball knows what the Padres' obvious needs are. And like even when we asked Manny, I asked him, like, would you be shocked if they didn't make a move? And these guys are going to say, listen, we believe in the guys we have out there, but if they didn't do anything to address at least one of their 2 glaring needs, I think that would resonate a little bit in the clubhouse. You can believe in some of the guys, but you cannot believe in what we've seen from the bottom of the order for this long. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know, man.
Totally. They're going to do something.
You would be shocked. You'd be shocked if it. Yeah.
And I would be honestly shocked if they didn't add 2 hitters like this. And it doesn't have to be left field or catcher. It could just be 2 guys to bolster the bench, to bolster. Like maybe Gavin Sheets is the left fielder. He's gotten better there defensively. I wouldn't call him good, but he's gotten better there. I don't think that's what the Padres want, but like just 2 guys, 2 bats to bolster this offense, because it's a really, like, if those guys start hitting together, we started to see what Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, like when they're all kind of going, like they look pretty good against the Phillies. And like even when those guys weren't racking up hits, they were working tough at bats against really good pitchers. Like the offense has the potential to be really good, and then it has black holes in the 8 and 9 spots in the lineup. And like, you don't even need to address necessarily both of those spots if you get a pinch hitter who can, if you get a bench bat that can. I mean, I've said this I feel like every single week. If you get a bench bat that can sub in for one of those catchers, or if you get like a backup catcher and a bench bat, there's a number of ways they can go about it. I think they have some leverage in the fact that like all their up the middle positions are set. Like they've got center field, they've got shortstop, second base, they've got, they don't have catcher obviously, but like. The most of the primary positions that you're going to need offense from, they have in pretty good shape other than catcher. So they just need bats. They just need anyone. So they don't need to go out and target a specific guy or pinpoint this position. They have options and I would expect for them to move on it at some point in the next couple of weeks. Just don't know when.
What kind of payroll flexibility does Preller really realistically have? Because there's no one that I've spoken to over the past month that thinks that they can really add anything financially.
Well, not much, but I think it's like based on what I just said, they're not going to be adding Juan Soto. They're not going to be adding a number 3 hitter in their lineup.
Oh, Soto's not available?
I think they can. Not this year. No, I mean it's a big salary to take on anyway. Yeah. But they're not adding a number 3 hitter. Like you can find guys for $2-3 million, and then that's a lot. But you can package other guys out. Like maybe this is a deadline where the Padres are moving money and pushing it down the road in some capacity, doing some sort of giving. If you give, the more prospects you give, the more likely a team is to eat more of that salary. Preller's gotten creative on that before. Yeah. I think the Arise deal comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like there are ways to go about it when you don't need to be adding a number 3 hitter, when you just need to be adding really realistically a number 8 hitter and a bench guy.
Okay. A couple of the popular names that have been floating around, of course, has been Sean Murphy, the catcher from the Braves, and then, of course, Jarren Duran. Now, right now, the Boston Red Sox finished the first half winning 10 straight. They are 53-45. They were actually a game better than the Padres are record-wise. Why on earth would they trade Duran? And do you believe that is really someone that AJ Preller will be aggressive about?
Well, I think if they could trade for him, they would try and find a way. But I don't think the Red
Hmm.
Sox will, and I don't
Okay.
know the inner workings of the Red Sox, but they're right on the fringe of the playoffs. It was a different
Right.
story a month ago when they were outside. And
Hmm.
B, I don't know that the Padres have the prospects to do it. They gave up a lot in deals over the last, I guess, 18 months, and he's a really really good player. So,
Yeah.
like I said, there are also salary numbers that are come into play there. There's just a lot that goes into it where like it seems like a thing that AJ Preller would be making calls about because AJ Preller makes calls about everything. But
Right.
there are other good outfielders, just corner guys who are on the open market, and I think that like there are just other options that are cheaper that maybe like if AJ had his way, he'd have more prospects and the Red Sox would be more willing and
Hmm.
Jaron Duran would be an option. I don't really see that as the option. I see guys like I think Taylor Ward, Jesus Sanchez are guys who have
Taylor
been
Ward.
talked
Okay.
about as like not necessarily by the Padres, but just through the industry as like these
Hmm.
guys might be available in trades depending on what those teams try to do and what they set their prices as. And like those guys, you put them in the number 8 spot in the lineup. I don't know offhand like what their OPSs are, but I know it's a massive jump from what the
Yeah.
Padres are putting there right now.
Sean Murphy is another popular name. Now, before I get to him and what he makes, what 15 million each a year over the next 3 years. AJ, top of your head, do you know approximately how much is coming off the books financially for the Padres after this season? What salaries are gonna be gone? Is Hosmer
Top of my
done?
head,
Hosmer's
no.
done, right?
Eric Hosmer is the one that I know.
Okay,
A lot, a good, a
a
big
lot.
number. They also in some of these contracts knew that and structured them that way. So like
Tatis
some of the
kicks in.
Michael King commitments, even though yeah, Tatis kicks in. Some of the Michael
Hmm.
King commitment, even though they only have him through this year, they'll be paying him next year. Nick Pavetta's deal
Hmm.
goes up, so they, as you say, you're Dylan Cease, Michael King, Luis Ariz, Eric Hosmer, a couple other guys are coming off the books. You say that, but it's not as much as what that number would be because of the way
Okay.
they structured some of the things. So it's not so much, but like Sean Murphy's a good player. Uh, I don't know what the specifics of a deal for him would look like. I also don't know what it's like to incorporate a catcher into a new pitching staff midseason, particularly when the Padres pitching staff has been as good as it's been. I don't know anything about like Sean Murphy, the person. He's clearly been a very successful player for a long time, so I imagine he could learn a pitching staff. Um, but that would be a big time ad for a team that like if the top of the offense is hitting and that's who you're putting in. I guess maybe that's the number 7 hitter because you can kind of
Okay.
stack some righties and lefties. That would be. It's obviously it's mentioned because it's such a good fit. It's a, kind of precisely what the Padres need, but there are obstacles to acquiring a catcher in season.
Okay. I thought after last time we were done talking about Luis Campusano forever. Are we done here? July 16th. I'm sure that Gavin Sheets is back on this trip. Are we done now talking about Luis Campusano, or are they still going to go ahead and give him at bats?
Well, I mean, like, who else is going to get the at bats if Gavin Sheets isn't there? I guess like my question was maybe starting him and hitting him 7th in that spot wasn't the wisest, but like there this is what we're talking about when we talk about how badly the Padres need bats. Luis Campusano
Hmm.
has been mashing at AAA, and
Yeah.
like maybe at some point like you look at him as a 4A player, but I still think there's some opportunity for him to be had where he is not that, where he is um like he can get regular at bats and start to hit in the major leagues defensively. I don't think that's as like I'm not as optimistic about that. But
Hmm.
then the question is whether that's with the Padres and whether there's just some sort of change of scenery thing available at the deadline where you can get anything
Yeah.
back for him. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that like we will have seen maybe not the last of him, but we'll have seen the last of like the Padres asking for anything from him this season once they acquire these 2 bats at the trade deadline because that will complete what I think is should be a pretty solid offense. I would say 1 through 9, but I think 1 through 13. If they add these 2 bats, they have some decent bench pieces. Jose Iglesias, I know the numbers aren't there. He still hits against left-handed
Hmm.
pitching, and his importance is in being able to move around the infield and give all those guys DH days. That will be valuable down the stretch. So it's a pretty complete offense once you add these 2 bats, whoever they end up being.
Do you think the Padres could buy and sell at the same time? And I know the popular name
Yes.
that comes up is going to be Dylan Cease. Could you explain how would that work? How would that make sense for the Padres?
These would be tricky, and obviously, like Robert Suarez is another guy who can opt out of his deal after the season. He'd be
Hmm.
tricky too. They're both guys that make money, and if the Padres like financially want to, a receive some value from them going forward, like maybe you trade. Think of Dylan Cease like the Juan Soto trade light. Like you're trading a guy and maybe getting back a couple pitchers who aren't nearly as good as Dylan Cease, and have 2 to 3 more years of team control. So the Padres like stick them at the back of the rotation. The closer we get and the more the Padres I think view themselves as contenders, the more I don't think it's likely that they would trade Dylan Cease. I still
Hmm.
think like they look at some of his underlying numbers, and like I still look at the last month's worth of his starts, and they have not been good, but they've been better than what they were early in the season. And it seems like every game he shows that dominant stuff, and then like leaves a fastball over the middle of the plate with 2 guys on base and they hit it out, and it's all of a sudden he's 6 innings, 4 runs, and it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But it's like he was that close last year when he hit that July stretch where he was just really dominant down the stretch. So the closer we get, I think they could buy and sell. I don't know who those guys are. Like those 2 guys come to mind instantly. Like Suarez is an all-star closer, and their bullpen is so freaking good. Like I don't think that's like that's the guy that I think came to mind before the season. Maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But at this point, like I think it's likelier that they go into the rest of the season with Dylan Cease and Michael King at the front of that rotation when
Hmm.
Michael King comes back, and then obviously Pivetta and Darvish, and then you're just looking at losing those guys potentially in free agency, and as a result, you qualify off for them, and then you get draft picks for them, and the Padres have hit on their draft picks. I think I said a couple weeks ago, like the
Yeah.
fruits of this Juan Soto trade with James Wood, who was I believe taken 62nd overall, might end up being 2 draft picks right around 62nd overall. So go ahead, go draft the next James Wood with those picks.
There you go. I know Twitter wants to go ahead and trade Dylan Cease right now, but if you are a team and you really have playoff aspirations, I'd be shocked. You don't trade your pitching. You can't have enough pitching come playoff time, especially in a short series. You never know what's going to happen. And to me, there's too much uncertainty over Yu Darvish coming back from his injury, from his shoulder
Yep.
injury, from Michael
It's another
King
important.
coming back, and you never know with a setback. I can't imagine the idea is, listen, we're going to go ahead and trade Dylan Cease, and we're going to take our chances with Yu Darvish, maybe Michael King, go with Stephen Kolek at some point, Ryan Berger, and Nick Pivetta. I mean, you've got to have a better plan than that. And with Robert Suarez, the strength of this team is their bullpen. It's just that's the biggest strength. I wouldn't even touch that right now. So we'll see.
I would argue that Robert Suarez, of the 4 relievers, like the other 3 guys have been better in the first half than
Yes.
Robert Suarez.
Yes.
But Suarez is still the guy with the closing experience, and he's nailed it down. And why mess with what's been the biggest strength of the team so far?
What do you expect the rotation to look like come the second half? I'm not sure if Mike Schultz already announced it and I missed it. I've been off Twitter and off the threads and all that stuff over the past couple of days. So what do you expect it to look like?
I think it's I don't know if this is public yet, but I think it's Cease.
Okay.
Cease Friday, Darvish Saturday, Pivetta Sunday, which would lead me to believe Vasquez Monday, which then is who is the number 5 starter on Tuesday in Miami. Presumably, I don't know, Stephen Kolek or Matt Waldron or someone gets called up to fill that spot. But you're getting closer to that number 5 starter being Michael King, I think. I think that's the interesting. Once we get back from the break and kind of find out where he is and how close he is to facing hitters, he wants to go fast. He wants this rehab to really move. And like when you hear him talk about it, there's no reason why it shouldn't, because it's not like he's recovering from an injury that is bothering him. It's now that his nerve's firing, it's just about building up that strength. So it's essentially he's in spring training right now. This is not a rehab necessarily. It's a spring training. It's a build up to getting him to where he needs to be.
He threw 35 pitches, right, on in his last outing off the mound.
Oh man, Marty, that was way forever.
Sorry.
That was over the weekend. I told you I'm in break mode. Exact number of pitches from a guy in a bullpen. No, I think it was something around there. I think it might have been 25, but maybe it ramped up. No, it was 25 and then more than that. So 35 sounds like what it might have been. I don't remember.
Are you on this trip at all?
I am on the trip. I'm not. I am taking the weekend. So my All-Star break lasts a little bit longer than everyone else's. And then I'm going to go to SDFC. I'm going to SDFC tonight. Going to SDFC on Saturday also. So very much looking forward to that. It'll probably be the last chance I get to go see them this season.
Yeah, good for you. Maybe you'll see
And
Manny
then,
tonight.
I don't think so. I asked him
Oh no,
about it. I think I mean, he was in Atlanta. I doubt he's going back to San Diego, back
probably
to
Miami. Okay.
DC. So I'm guessing he'll meet up with the team in DC. But I will be in Miami, and then I will be in St. Louis as we get closer to the deadline. Like, I think the Padres can win a lot of games on this trip. A lot of winnable games against teams that are below them in the standings. St. Louis will be
Hmm.
interesting because they're one of those teams that's right outside. But if what is this? What's the trip? 10 games. They
Yeah.
go 7-3 on this trip and are maybe the number 5 seed, maybe within sort of striking distance of the Dodgers. Maybe looking at those home playoff games in the wild card series, like those are signals to the front office that the team with reinforcements can achieve a lot of the goals that it wants to achieve.
Real quick, AJ, how much of that series against the Phillies, not just winning, but how they play those games, how much of that maybe reinforced to the front office that, you know what, we need to go for it. We need to be aggressive. Because that's the caliber of team that you're going to play in a playoff.
Yeah, it reinforced it to me. I think to the front office, it's still a little bit more wait and see. I know for a fact the whole front office during that series was more focused on the draft than on the
Okay.
Phillies series because
Yeah.
that's draft weekend and that's obviously a big priority. But you take a step back and you look at who the Phillies are. I think the Phillies are really good, and if the Padres are on the Phillies level,
Yep.
like the National League to me is probably the Dodgers at the top, and then some contenders that can dethrone the Dodgers, and the Phillies are one of them. I think the Mets are probably one of them. The Cubs are one of them. Are the Padres one of them? I would put them a step down until they reinforce, but they absolutely could and should be once they do at the trade deadline.
What did you like about? Did you like the? You watched the home run. I'm sorry. You watched the All-Star game, right? Did you like the ABS challenge? Of course, Manny Machado is the first victim of the ABS challenge. And did you like the swing off at the end? Is that the way that baseball needs to end their games?
The swing off is a fantastic way to end an All-Star game. I don't want it to ever end a regular season baseball game. A game that counts. It's right where it needs to be in the All-Star game. The ABS challenge system, I think is great. It's a step in the right direction. Ultimately, I would like to see, like, this is just my opinion, and I understand the different sides of all three arguments for no challenges, for ABS challenge, and for just automated balls and strikes. I think if you can get the call right and you know it just like that, just have the call be made by the system itself. There's going to come a time, I think, at some point where there's an egregious call, and because someone 2 innings earlier used the team's last challenge, it'll become a big storyline, and then eventually after that, it'll move toward that. I don't know the specifics of how tennis uses it, but I think tennis has now moved more toward, if it's a close call, we can have the answer right away. So why don't we just take what we know is the answer? I think we'll get there, but like the drama of ABS is pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to like if that's where the sport is headed. That is pretty exciting, and I think like people can get pretty into it at the ballpark.
It'll speed up those games even quicker than ever. Okay, AJ, my nephew has been unnaturally quiet for 22 minutes, so I need to go ahead and check on him. I hope you have a lot of wonderful beer at Snapdragon at the next 2 SDFC games you're going to be at. I want a full review. When we talk next week, I think from Miami, are we going to be revisiting the Juan Soto trade again since we're coming off a series with the Nationals? We're done, right? Are we done? We're done with the Juan Soto trade.
Probably not, because I think we're done with that. James Wood has played his games at Petco Park, and then who knows? We're not done with it. When the Nationals are good in a year or two, it will come up once again. But I don't think we need to talk about it this weekend, because right now the Padres are a much better team than the Nationals.
Yes, they are. Also, you're on vacation, kind of. Enjoy it, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate you. I know you have to get back into baseball mode, but first you are in soccer mode. So have a great time, and we'll catch up next week from Miami.
All right. See you then, Marty.
Thanks, AJ. All right, that was AJ Cassavell from MLB.com. Thanks, guys, for listening. We were brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a great day. It's sunny. It's beautiful. We will talk to you tomorrow.